There's something to be said about a group that just it's like a machine. I mean, they're a machine.
I said it during the game. Their team's like a machine.
A well-oiled machine.
The Celtics fall to the best team in their Eastern Conference, Atlanta Hawks, 105-91. We're going to break it down. We yet again have a new set on the Garden Report. My name is Jared Weiss. With me, Jimmy Toscano from CSNNE, Celtics blog, Metro, and just my heart in general. Julian Edlow from CLNS Radio and WEEI.com. We're going to break down this win for you in part one, and then we're going to look at the existential crisis facing the Boston Celtics and facing me at heart as well in part two before going to box of ball. So first off, the Boston Celtics face the Atlanta Hawks, who are the best team in the Eastern Conference, yet we're missing maybe their two most important players.
They might be the best team in the league, though. Let's give them that, too.
They're sitting on the top of a lot of power rankings right now.
They're on the top of mine. If you go to the Metro, they're on mine.
The most important power rankings on the NBA, of course, out there. But that's a shot at Jimmy, not at the Metro. I love the Metro. But they started off 7-6, and they've lost 2 games since then. And tonight, despite missing Kyle Korver, not having that real offensive spark plug that they really rely on, and then not having their best all-around player in Al Horford, Jimmy, they were still pretty much flawless. They were dictating this dictating this game. I compared it to Ender's Game in my game story, that movie where it's like the little kid controlling all the armies and stuff.
I haven't seen it, but I bet you it was awesome.
Well, here's all you need to know. Spoiler alert, Ender's Game, they control things. So Jeff Teague, he had that one play in the fourth quarter, he had that crossover, and the entire Celtics defense collapsed. And the guys, the shooters on the wings were just kind of laughing to each other, like, why are they letting us have these shots? The Celtics just couldn't handle the Hawks at all tonight.
I agree. And Jeff Teague, he's just smooth, man. He's a smooth operator. With that crossover that you're talking about, that was one of a few easy lanes he had to the hoop. Not because there was nobody ever in front of him. It's just because he with one move, he just blew right by. And I know Brad Stevens said after the game that nobody can stay in front of Teague. Yep. Avery Bradley didn't want to say it. But then again, Avery Bradley also didn't really stop Teague tonight. Nobody.
Well, Avery Bradley is nobody.
Well,
in that sentence, Avery Bradley is the nobody that Stevens is talking about.
Yeah.
Nobody is an Avery Bradley.
I got you there.
There you go.
Listen, the Hawks can afford to sit a guy or two when you're playing a team like the Celtics because they're already down their 2 best guys too. They traded them away. So every game they're going, they have their best 2 guys. Second-round draft picks and first-round draft picks aren't being called into the game tonight.
They're not going to score many points.
They're not going to score many points. You're
right.
You're
talking about Jameer Nelson and Brandon Wright as far as the best players. Okay.
Exactly.
I just wanted to make sure.
So in that sense, listen, last year 2 good teams would come in here and they would sit their stars. I was tweeting with somebody about it earlier that, they can't wait for the day when teams come in here and they don't just automatically bench their best players. Well, because last year it happened, this year it's happening, and it's going to keep happening throughout the year.
Yeah, I mean, the Hawks came in and did what the Hawks were supposed to do without arguably their 2 best players. They have
Korver's not their second best player.
Probably not.
But he is awesome.
But, if you go through their starting lineup, it's like, you can make a case for any of those 5 guys to be, some of the last guys on the All-Star team. Yeah. Their starting lineup just seems to be that well-rounded, and they completely exposed the Celtics. They played pressure D on them, and, the Celtics don't necessarily have a point guard. Evan Turner starts a little bit out of position. Marcus Smart's learning the position. Stevens went to Phil Pressey later in the game just to kind of see if that would do anything for him, but the game was probably already out of reach.
It was.
So,
it was like 15 points.
I mean, the Hawks, they've lost 2 games since Thanksgiving. That's ridiculous. So to think that the Celtics were going to get one on them tonight, even with Horford and Korver resting, is ridiculous. The Hawks did what they thought they were going to do tonight.
I mean, they're a well-oiled machine. That's what Jared Sullinger, I think that's what he said after the game, and Stevens called them a machine as well. I guess these guys were just talking about the great machine that the Hawks were, because Avery Bradley said that they were a machine during the game too. Yep. So that must have been the word of the night when they're talking about the Hawks. I guess everyone got that message.
The Hawks are who we thought they were.
A machine, yeah, exactly.
I think GE plays the Celtics players $1 for every time they say the word machine.
I think the Hawks are sponsored actually by GE.
Sponsored
by
amazing.
machines.
Okay, so before we even get to my 8th man guys, I'm over Damari Carroll. It's fine, we laugh with ourselves. I want to talk about the Paul Millsap versus Jared Sullinger matchup. You used the word awesome. I thought it was really kind of ironic that Jared Sullinger is wearing a sweatshirt that said awesome.
He did.
Throw it up there right now. And his game, his matchup against Paul Millsap was probably the exact opposite tonight. Jared's entire post-game press conference was really mostly about how unawesome the Celtics were, how their effort is a major issue. They're not playing hard. I think he used the word, like the phrase play hard like 10 times. He's really been harping on that lately, the whole kind of repetitive post-game presser. But Millsap, I asked him about how, like, do you guys feel like you're at the level where you can start making adjustments during the game? Because, you know, Paul Millsap was kind of, you know, wrecking you in the face, and he made the fair point that, well, Paul Millsap's an all-star, so Julian, that's what's going to happen. But there was no question that Millsap was able to do whatever he wanted the entire game. And sure, he's a great player, but Jared Sullinger should have been able to step up, and he didn't. The entire team really didn't. But focusing on really the Sullinger-Millsap matchup, what did you see there that was the major weakness?
Sullinger was, he was okay tonight, but like we addressed at the beginning of the season, we had a mailbag question. Can Jared Sullinger be an all-star? Can he be a 20-10 guy? Tonight is a night that shows how he's not quite there, and a guy like Millsap is. Millsap exposed him. Millsap was clearly the better player, and Jared Sullinger either is not there or has a ways to go until he can become that type of player. So, Sullinger wasn't horrible. Millsap was just that much better. Sullinger shot 5 for 13. Millsap only took 10 shots. He was 5 for 10. He was just more efficient with them. Had 18 points to Sullinger's 14. Had 10 rebounds to Sullinger's 9, so pretty much even. But Millsap was just more of a presence on the court tonight, and that's why the Hawks won big, or one of the several reasons why the Hawks won big.
It's just a classic case of a veteran guy going up against a younger guy. Millsap, at this stage in his career, he knows every little thing about his game. He knows what he wants. He knows where he wants to score. He knows where he wants to be down low when he's playing defense. Jared Sullinger, I feel like, is still struggling with the inside and outside part of his game. Is he a low post guy, or is he a guy who's going to sort of stretch the floor like maybe a Kevin Love, who we've compared him to in the past?
He needs to balance that. It's not picking one or the other.
I think he needs to find out what's working for him and when it's working for him, and that needs to translate as well on the defensive end. And he has to adjust his game. It's kind of like a game plan type defense where he's going to have to adjust to the guy that he's covering on. Because when he's that type of a player where he's that versatile offensively, he's going to end up guarding guys who are maybe sometimes equally or more versatile than he is.
Yeah, we should put Jared Sullinger into perspective. It usually takes a big man about 5 years to really kind of get his game kind of well-rounded. He's in year 3 right now. He's pretty good for a third-year big man. And exactly, so he's behind the 8 ball for the most part, and he's being put in a position where we're clearly lofting these expectations on him that are probably unfair for a guy at this stage of his career, especially because the physical development has been really the biggest issue. I know he's getting a lot better, but he still has a long ways to go. But Sullinger, I see a lot of promise in him, and he has a really heavy burden on himself right now. But you're right in that his identity offensively as a player is very much lost right now. He's trying to be a stretch forward that's a really effective offensive rebounder. I'd say he's modeled almost as much on Ryan Anderson right now. And Ryan Anderson's a great player, but
much better shooter.
Obviously a much better shooter. But as far as a guy that's kind of following that model, he's really just a shooter who's also making a lot of plays as an offensive rebounder. But he is a clear-out, go-to scorer, the kind of guy that can do the stuff that Millsap did tonight. He has a lot of similarities to Paul Millsap. He's not as fast as Millsap yet, but that's the kind of thing that he should be doing as a high-post, face-up, effective kind of player, and we're still waiting to see that from his game.
We are?
Yes.
You said unfair expectations were placed on him. When you trade away your 2 best players, unfair expectations are placed on you. That's how it goes.
I think we're going to be talking about that in the next video.
I think we might. We just might. So let's get to the next video. We'll start with my 8th man, guys, and we got to talk about Carroll. And then we'll get to Jared Sullinger. It's all we're going to talk about on the show from now on. So we'll be right back for part 2 of the Garden Report on CLNS Radio and Celtics blog.
They passed the ball, they moved the ball very well, and they knocked down shots, and that's what they did in the third quarter, and we weren't able to come back.
What was the problem with the start of the game? Brad calls a timeout very, very early.
We just didn't come out playing hard. We have to be a team that plays hard at the beginning of the game, at the beginning of every quarter, throughout the whole game. And we just didn't today, and we turned the ball over, and it led to points for them, and we can't do that. We won't win games if we play that way.
Well, I do think this. I think you have to look and redefine who the superstars are with our own eyes every day, right? And so I would argue that they've got a couple guys on their way, and I don't know what qualifies as a superstar, but I know this, nobody in the league can keep Jeff Teague in front of him. Nobody. And Schroeder is nobody can. I'm not saying he's a superstar yet. He's a young kid, but nobody can keep him in front of him. And then they space it with shooters. So now it's a basketball team, right? And Millsap's been an all-star. Horford didn't play tonight. He's been an all-star. Korver didn't play tonight. He's a really good player. So they've got a great group, and it fits well. And you might have, you know, a budding superstar in that group, right?